If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on, if you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but are none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and, which is more, you'll be a man, my son.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, according to multiple sources, including a sitting U.S. Congress member, there has been a secret special forces raid in Germany to obtain information and data that would prove that the election systems being used here in America, specifically the voting machines, could have been used to fraudulently steal the election. We're going to look at that, plus a bunch of other news stories the fake news will not tell you about. They're purposely hiding from you, so you guys are going to want to stick around and hear that and a whole lot more. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. You guys know we're going to start over here now at justinformednews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk, where we'll be hosting all of the videos. They'll be posted here first before they get posted anywhere else. We'll also be posting them over on bitshoot.com/justinformedtalk and rumble.com/justinformedtalk. But if you want to get the videos first and foremost from me on an independent website that I'm going to be hosting where they cannot take our content down, you need to come here to justinformednews.com. And remember, if you want to get an email as soon as these new videos get posted, come down here to the subscribe bar, put your email address in, hit subscribe, and then you'll get an email every single time we post a new video here, which will be posted first here at justinformednews.com. But with that, we're going to get into the latest Q posts. We don't have any new ones, I should say, actually, but we're going to get into the latest news, I should say, major news breaking. Today is the huge MAGA March for 45 happening in Washington, D.C. right now. We'll talk about that later, but we have major news. We're going to talk about the raid that may have happened in Germany that seems to be being confirmed by a U.S. Congress member. We're also going to look at a bunch of other breaking news stories that have to do with the fraud. And we're going to look at the executive order President Trump put out a while ago, I believe back in 2019, that is addressing exactly what's happening today. So we have a lot to cover, and we're going to get right into it. Before we do, though, please check out these products over at Touchstone Essentials. I'll leave a link in the description, but if you guys want to get healthy, if you want to get some great products that make you feel great and give you all the energy and strength and just so much vitality, you need to come check these out. I use them. I love them. You know, whether it's the CBD oil that's right here, or it's the super green juice that, you know, for me, I don't like coffee. I don't like caffeine. So I have one of these and I feel so much better than I've ever felt having a glass of coffee. Or it's the Zeolite, which is basically a detoxifier. Whatever it is, come here, use the link in the description to check out Touchstone Essentials products. And that way they know I sent you. But I love these products. I only bring you stuff I use, I like. So if you want to try them out, go down, use the link in the description, check out their products and give them a shot. And then when you sign up for the monthly subscription, you'll actually get a discount. So it's a win-win, and they'll help support this channel. You'll get great products that make you feel great. So give them a shot today. and I can't tell you anything more. It's great product, so give them a shot. Now, today we're going to get into the Scytl raid. I don't know if Skittle, Scytl, whatever you want to call it, but apparently, according to sitting members of Congress, we have a major army, special forces raid in Germany where they were recovering the servers of a company called Scytl. So according to DuckDuckGo here, it talks about Scytl being a secure electronic voting company that is, I believe, directly connected to what we saw and the Dominion voting systems, but it's one of the biggest ones. It's a Spanish provider of electronic voting systems and election technology, and it's founded in Barcelona. I think it's also has some affiliation with Canada and Dominion and all that, but apparently there were some servers that may or may not have contained very important information that had to do with our elections, where our elections information was being offshored before it was even being counted in our nation. Can you imagine that? Allegedly, they're using Amazon servers to move the voting information offshore and then bring it back. You think that do you trust the election when you hear something like that? Do you trust the election when you have electronic voting machines offshoring data? Even if that's not true, there's a lot more of information that's coming out about the way that votes were changed. And we're going to get into all that here in this episode. So I hope you guys stick around for it. But I want to play this video. It's of Representative Louis Gohmert from Texas, I believe. And he's going to explain what he's heard about this. And I want you guys to listen to this right now.
One more thing. Sunday, I had information from some of our former intel people that there was extremely compelling evidence that could be gleaned from Scytl, that's SCYTL. That's a company headquartered in Barcelona, Spain, that was responsible for aggregating all the information from all the machines and whatnot. But now the main headquarters had moved to Frankfurt. You know, Frankfurt, where Merkel in Germany has said the day after the election that Trump needed to go ahead and concede. Well, they're going through bankruptcy, but that information as to how many votes were switched from Republican for Democrat would have been easily established from the information that Scytl gathered, and what were the votes going in and which ones were changed going out. And he said, can you send me exactly the information we need to gather? And so I got that information and sent it in the wee hours Monday morning. And before he would have had a chance to make a request to get any of that information, it turns out that I don't know the truth. I know that there was a German tweet in German saying that on Monday, U.S. Army forces went into Scytl and grabbed their server. There's some that believe this is the U.S. intelligence that manipulated all this in order to cover their own rear ends. But it's a little disturbing to just contemplate how corrupt the government has gotten with the whole Russia hoax, the framing of Mike Flynn, and so many others, Carter Page, Papadopoulos. So this is a desperate time for our country when those that are entrusted.
So there is where the competing theories come in. As you heard Louis Gohmert say, it was supposedly U.S. Army Special Forces, but could it have been the deep state globalist, rogue intelligence community going in there to destroy the evidence, to obtain and destroy the evidence that existed in Frankfurt, Germany? We don't know. But what we do know at this point is that other sources are coming out and saying that we've basically seized the information, we've seized the servers, and we have the data necessary to show with beyond a reasonable doubt that the votes that were being put in to these servers were being switched from Trump to Biden, which ultimately would prove there was massive election fraud on a scale that's almost incomprehensible, other than to understand that it was the plan all along. See, these people, you got to remember too, they have nothing left to lose. I've said this before, I'll say it again. These people would rather destroy this country. They would rather send us into a civil war. They would rather destroy all confidence in our election integrity then be caught and held accountable for their crimes. And it's like when you back an animal into a corner, it lashes out, and that's what we're dealing with here. And that's what Q said in the past before. So I'm not sure which theory is true, which one is not, but I'll tell you right now, people like Robert Steele coming out and saying that the special forces captured all the servers in Germany with fraud evidence. And basically it's going to lead to this righteous triumph, which, you can take that with a grain of salt. They speculated here, I believe this is Sabrina D'Souza, saying that the Haspel conversation went something like this, where she went and met with Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, that the mission was accomplished and Dominion voting machines were sequestered. But there's no way to prove any of this right now. Although we're hearing a lot from people like Sidney Powell and others who are talking about releasing the Kraken and how we have all the evidence and it's going to be, huge, like what comes out here. So it is fascinating when you kind of put it all together and you start thinking about it piece by piece. And, I say take everything with a grain of salt and understand that nothing's settled yet. But here's from naturalnews.com. I believe this is Mike Adams talking about how Dominion's Canadian and Seidel is from Spain. Both represent foreign interference in U.S. elections with data routed through servers in Germany. Now, why is that important? Well, let's look back. We got to look back to look forward. Look at back in, I'm sorry, I said earlier it was 2019, 2018, September 12th, President Trump issues this order, an executive order on imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in a United States election. Now let's read through the first few paragraphs of this executive order, because 2 years ago, President Trump declared a national emergency that pertains exactly to what we are dealing with here today. Now listen to this. I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, find that the ability of persons located in or whole or in substantial part outside the United States to interfere in or undermine public confidence in the United States elections, including through the unauthorized accessing of election and campaign infrastructure or the covert distribution of propaganda and disinformation, constitutes an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States. Although there has been no evidence of a foreign power altering outcome of vote tabulation. Does that sound like exactly what we're going through today? In any United States election, foreign powers have historically sought to exploit America's free and open political system. In recent years, the proliferation of digital devices and internet-based communications has created significant vulnerabilities and magnified the scope and intensity of the threat of foreign interference. As illustrated in the 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment, I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with this threat. So listen to the first couple sections here. Listen to this. Section 1A. Not later than 45 days after the conclusion of a United States election, the Director of National Intelligence, in consultation with the heads, and remember, the DNI now is John Ratcliffe, in consultation with the heads of any other appropriate executive departments and agencies, shall conduct an assessment of any information indicating that a foreign government or any person acting as an agent or on behalf of a foreign government has acted with the intent or purpose of interfering in the election. The assessment shall identify to the maximum extent ascertainable the nature of any foreign interference and any methods employed to execute it, the persons involved, and the foreign government or governments that authorized, directed, sponsored, or supported it. The Director of National Intelligence shall deliver this assessment and appropriate supporting information to the President, the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of the Treasury, the Secretary of Defense, the Attorney General, and the Secretary of Homeland Security. Then it says, furthermore, within 45 days of receiving that assessment and information described in Section 1A of this order, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security, in consultation with the heads of any other appropriate agencies and, as appropriate, state and local officials, shall deliver to the President, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Treasury, and the Secretary of Defense a report evaluating with respect to the United States election that is subject to the assessment described in Section 1A. So you guys are more than welcome to go read this full order, but when you read through it, it is describing exactly what is happening here today. And it was almost incredible, the kind of accuracy that this exact order, this declaration of a national emergency by the President of the United States, how it pertains exactly to the Seidel and this Dominion voting system and how foreign countries are interfering in our elections. And people had speculated that President Trump basically went to Merkel and said, we're taking this, there's nothing you can do about it. And that's what the speculation is right now. Now, again, take that all with a grain of salt, because it could obviously be the other way, where you have the deep state going and stealing the evidence to destroy it, so that there is, it makes it more difficult to prove, beyond a reasonable doubt that there was foreign election interference. But regardless, we are uncovering this in real time, and President Trump seems as though over 2 years ago, he was ready for this. He was preparing for it. He even declared a national emergency with, I believe, it had nothing to do, or less to do, with the 2018 election, the midterms, and a whole lot more to do with what's happening today in this basically fraudulent election. I mean, nothing makes sense in this election. Let's just be honest, right? The highly unlikely vote tallies where, you have Republicans winning in these districts and then President Trump losing, or you have, the voter turnout that's 80, 90, over 100% in some areas, or you have the fact that there's just complete and total warping of the system when it comes to ballots coming in late, elections that never end, judges and secretaries of state making orders that are unconstitutional, whether it's the state's constitution or the federal constitution, when it comes to just what their capabilities and powers are. Usually it's the state constitutions that they're overriding in their own states. So we are going to keep uncovering this piece by piece. So I just thought that was interesting. I thought I'd bring it to you. But here was somebody pointing out the fact that the Cytol website, I guess, is down right now. So that means there is no server. So were the servers taken? I'm not sure. But of course, here's Lin Wood, famous attorney here, talking about a few things in regard to what we saw here on this video with Louis Gohmert. It says, Biden and his criminal cronies are not going to sleep well tonight. Well, Biden might, because he probably forgot the name Cytol, but his co-conspirators know the name well. They also know the name Paragon Company, which purchased Cytol in October 20th, or October of 2020. Everything, I guess, will be revealed. Fight back. And then he goes on to say in the next tweet, would it be great, excuse me, would it greatly concern you if all of the votes in the 2020 presidential election were routed to Amazon servers in Barcelona and Frankfurt before being reported, or is it just me? Yeah, if that's true, that would be very disturbing. So I think there's a lot that we can go after here. And don't forget that just back in 2019, Democrat Senators Warren, Klobuchar, and Wyden issued a complaint against Dominion voting system. And this is great. You gotta hear this, right? So the actions of Dominion voting are all over the conservative news outlets right now. But not long ago, Dominion was the subject of Democrat Senators Warren, Klobuchar, and Wyden. In 2019, Senators Warren, Klobuchar, and Wyden were upset about Dominion voting. They were so upset that they sent them a letter. Listen to what they said in this letter. Dominion, these problems threaten the integrity of our elections, right? And it goes on in here, reporting machines that switch their votes, undisclosed vulnerabilities in nearly 36 back-end election systems in 10 states. They received improbable vote discrepancies, right? They have these problems threaten the integrity of our elections. Well, doesn't that sound a lot like what's happening today? That's interesting. In a letter to Dominion, the senators expressed their concerns, and they said, if you do not manage the vendors, they will manage you. Isn't that fascinating? Yet today, not a peep on the fake news media. You won't hear any of these senators standing up saying we need to investigate the voting systems, the Dominion voting systems. You know why? Because the cheating benefited them. The fraud benefited them, and it was by design. And that's what we're up against. And this is going to, if we can't restore faith in our elections, we might very well have very hard times ahead. Because what is our nation without the right to vote? If our votes don't count, if some offshore company, foreign globalist asset can just change our votes and completely subvert the will of the American people to install their puppets in our country, we don't have a country anymore. That's what I would say. That'd be my point. So, yeah, it's bad. But hopefully, as we saw in this executive order, President Trump was well prepared for it, and there's a process that's actually happening as we speak. We are inside of the first 45 days after the conclusion of the election, I would say. Unless they wherever they count the conclusion at, because some states are still counting, right? But Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Another one here from Linwood talking about he filed a lawsuit today in federal court in Atlanta to establish that the March 6, 2020 consent agreement by the Georgia Secretary of State rendered unlawful the general election in Georgia as a whole. So if that is true, yeah, it probably should, because you have these secretaries of state who are basically making decrees that go outside the state constitutions and would nullify, in the most part, in my opinion, the outcomes of the elections, because they made rules that made the elections untenable and unfair and unlawful. So that would be an interesting twist and turn of events, but I'll leave a link to all of this if you guys want to read about it. So yeah, don't worry about that. And here we go. Another story I want to talk about. You have deep state diplomats lying to the president of the United States about Syria on behalf of the military industrial complex. Now, this is all outlined here in this story, but the long and short of it is they were basically saying that President Trump is not qualified to make decisions on where troops should and shouldn't be. So they basically lied to him and said, yes, sir, we're going to get rid of the troops and move them out of Syria. And then they never did. And then they laugh about it on Twitter. There's like tweets out there about it. So that's what we're up against here. If you think these people are not the most corrupt, treasonous traitors in the world, criminal traitors, I don't know what to tell you. But these are the kind of people who lie to the president of the United States, commit sedition, treason, help abet and abet insurrection, and are doing it on behalf of global interests, globalist interests, and who knows who, unaccountable deep state minions that basically have no problem with lying to the president of the United States to keep us in endless wars because they know what's best for our country. Okay. That's a very interesting way of putting it, right? These people are criminals. They need to be held accountable. But here's Sidney Powell on Lou Dobbs, and you got to watch this clip. It's pretty funny, and it's her talking about releasing the Kraken.
Sidney, at the outset of this broadcast, I said that this is the culmination of what has been over a 4-year effort to overthrow this president, to first deny his candidacy, the election, but then to overthrow his presidency. This looks like the effort to carry out an end game in the effort against him. Do you concur?
Oh, absolutely, and it's been organized and conducted with the help of Silicon Valley people, the big tech companies, the social media companies, and even the media companies. And I'm going to release the Kraken.
So you heard Sidney Powell saying that she's going to release the Kraken, and it's just one of those things that goes to show that we will not be silent, we will not stand down, and we're going to keep fighting against this tyranny of the left, this oppression, this voter fraud, this complete annihilation of the rule of law in our country. With every move that these criminals make, we have to reestablish that order. So yeah, just thought that was interesting. Another one here, President Trump signing an executive order to block investment in businesses benefiting China's military. Well, if that's the case, then I think they should shut down every business that the Biden family is involved with, because they are directly benefiting the military, whether it's the CEFC connections, the $1.5 billion that was given to Hunter, or the other connections to Joe Biden and his corrupt family that he's been involved with. But this was put out, and it's going to be beginning on January 11th. And yeah, well, hopefully this is something that's going to be a game changer, just even further than what we know now. And I'd like to see Biden overturn that. You know, how do you overturn these things? Certain things, you know, what's funny? I'll just say that certain things that the president does are so strategic that in the worst case scenario where somehow Biden were to get in office, which I highly doubt would ever be possible, given what I know and what I've seen up till now, even if, could you imagine him trying to overturn that, saying, yeah, we can't block investment in businesses that benefit China's military. We should prop up China's military. It's like, this is the crazy world we're living in, right? But President Trump saying here, 700 ballots were not allowed to be viewed in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, which means, based on our great Constitution, we win the state of Pennsylvania. I agree 100%. And I think it's disgusting and despicable and illegal and criminal what they're trying to do otherwise, to say that you know, you can withhold ballots from being viewed, right? And then say that they count. That's not how our election system works. That means that nobody's going to ever have faith in the integrity of these elections ever again. If you're going to do some backroom third world, color or banana republic type dictatorship, fake democracy where they just take the ballots into a secret room and say, oh, yep, our guy won. Yep, nothing to see here. Move along. Here we go, busted. Evidence proving now that the burst water pipe in Georgia was used as cover for secret voter counting. So this happens again in Georgia. This is from Patrick Halley over at National File, and he's saying this, that there are text messages that have been uncovered now from the Atlanta Hawks vice president of facilities, Jeffrey Stiles, that claim the story was a complete exaggeration. You guys remember on election night when they said they had to close down the State Farm Arena because of a burst pipe? Listen to this text message exchange. It says, I just heard a water pipe burst at SFA, State Farm Arena, that will cause a vote count delay. Has this affected the AFCRA office? I think they were counting votes next door. It says, no, sir. It was highly exaggerated. It was a slow leak that caused about an hour and a half delay. We contained it quickly. It did not spread. We just wanted to protect the equipment. Wow. Isn't that fascinating? It was just a little slow dripping leak, and they're like, it's a burst pipe. We have to shut everything down and kick everyone out. Although it seems they kept counting votes after as well. Because it says here, Fulton County election officials told the media and observers that they were shutting down the tabulation center at the State Farm Arena at 10:30 p.m. on election night, only to continue counting ballots in secret until 1 a.m. Well, what could have happened? Why would they be from 10:30 to 1 a.m. counting ballots secretly? I wonder. It's just a mystery to me. Shocking exclusive, we caught them. Pennsylvania results show a statistically impossible pattern behind Biden's steal. Again, this is talking about the statistically impossible patterns that are just popping up. And I'll let you guys read through this story, but it talks about how there were, basically what it says is that what was happening in Pennsylvania was statistically impossible, right? Because President Trump had such a vast lead, and then all of a sudden, with the other votes coming in, the numbers just don't match up, right? So, yeah, his election day results versus mail-in results, all of it, it just proves that there's 100% fraud in all of these elections, and that they were inactive. Look, here's the thing I keep coming back to. I'll let you guys read the story if you want to get all the specific details of it. But listen, here's the fact of the matter. If you want me to believe that Black Lives Matter and Antifa, the same people burning down police precincts, committing violent hate crimes, they're just spewing racist rhetoric, using violence and intimidation like the Ku Klux Klan used to use. You want me to believe that those groups who are heavily involved in the voting electoral system, the election offices, etc., you don't think for a second that these people are getting behind closed doors and orchestrating the steal against President Trump? I don't believe you. I've seen enough over the last 6 months to know that these people are the kind of people who would do, they call it by any means necessary. That's the parent group of Black Lives Matter, by any means necessary. Bam. These people are criminals, and they are willing to commit crime because what have we shown them? In these Democrat-run states, the attorney generals, the people who are in charge of filing charges, the district attorneys, will not prosecute them. They've basically set over the last 6 to 9 months, right, since March, they've set the precedent that, look, you can get away with basically any crime you want. You can go and burn stuff down. You can go loot. You can go commit hate crimes. You can, just do the most vile, racist, hate crimes around. And nobody's ever going to do anything. You're never going to get arrested. Even if you do get arrested, you're going to get released. So you want me to believe that those people wouldn't do this? Wouldn't engage in this kind of treachery, this kind of fraud? Yeah, I don't believe you. Not for 1 second. As we see Las Vegas columnists running a test, and county officials accepted fake signatures on 8 different ballots. How about that? 8 ballots. Now what they did is the guy actually, he put a signature down, and then he had on 10 different ballots or 8 different ballots, and he had the people that were going to send their ballots and basically copy his signature so they didn't actually break the law. Then they sent them in, and the voting machines just accepted it. That's your signature, even though he never looked at the other person's signature, and he basically wrote in his own handwriting, their name. So completely different from their signature, 100%, and it still passed through. Yeah. But oh yeah, integrity in the system, right? The machines, we should trust them. So yeah, that's definitely something. And then finally here, Archbishop Vigano composes a prayer for America in time of struggle. And I want to read this to you. It's really powerful. And you can read the prayer for yourself if you want. I'll leave a link to it. But I'll just read the letter that he sent, where it says, "Dear brothers and sisters in Christ, I am with you at this historic moment for the future of the United States of America and the whole world. The forces of evil have gathered in a coalition against God, against our Christian civilization, against our beloved country, against the family, against order and law, against the values for which our forefathers fought and gave their lives, against all mankind in order to subjugate it to its infernal tyranny. As Christians, we are citizens of the heavenly Jerusalem. As Americans, you are citizens under God of this great nation. Be proud to courageously defend as true patriots the values that have made America great and which form the basis of your country's freedom and peace, harmony, and prosperity. The children of darkness have sought to subvert the outcome of the presidential elections through such deception and fraud as to suggest a real attack on the very foundations of human social coexistence. As lawyers and magistrates investigate the abuses and crimes committed, let us turn to the Lord, the supreme judge, though the intercession of Mary Most Holy, our powerful advocate. This is the Supreme Court, to which we can and must appeal to the will of God, which may be fulfilled, and truth may triumph over falsehood." Now, of course, that's Catholic Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano. And look, I can't lie. I think that there's so much in there that's just 100% true. So whether you stand on one side or the other of the aisle, I think we can all agree that there are certain things that remain true no matter what. And again, Carlo Maria Vigano is pointing it out there, which I think is very powerful. Now, finally, here's a look at the Million MAGA March here, Freedom Plaza. I mean, you can see the crowd. People say it's somewhere between 100,000 and 1 million. Who knows, right? But it looks more like 100,000, maybe a couple 100,000 people to me. And but there were probably more scattered about. And still, we've come together. We made our voices heard. We're going to keep doing it over and over again. Most people, unfortunately, who are part of this movement, the majority of Americans, actually have to work. We actually have to get up on Monday and go to work. And it's hard for us to travel across the country, because if we were given a week off from work like these leftist corporations do for Black Lives Matter and all this Antifa garbage, I'm sure that we could have got 10 million people down there. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. We still have to keep the American economy running. We have to keep providing for our families. And but this is still an amazing turnout. And to all you guys who turned up, who still have to go to work on Monday or still are just, sacrificing and doing it to get there, God bless you. I wish I could have made it. I was out here in California. It's just hard to travel across the country right now. And so that's what it is. And plus, when you get financially kneecapped by the biggest corporations in the world, it makes it a little more difficult to get the funds necessary to travel and to do things like that. But that aside, this is amazing. Plus, you have President Trump here doing a little drive-by in the middle of the march. I mean, this guy, talk about a man of the people. Here he is driving right through the middle of the MAGA march because he knows he's safe. He knows it's not the Black Lives Matter, Antifa, violent, destructive mobs of looters and rioters who are out there committing hate crimes. He knows he's with people he can trust, and he's there to support us because we're there to support him. So God bless President Trump and his family. And I thought that was really great. That was really awesome. So I really enjoyed that. Now, before we go, we do our a few things. Just want to let you guys know where you can find the videos. Like I said, come here, justinformednews.com. Make sure you sign up and subscribe so you get the emails. The videos will always be posted here first. Also going to be posted here on bitshoot.com/justinformedtalk. And they'll also be over on rumble.com. And if you guys want to come find me on other social media, I'm here on Twitter at justinformu. I'm on Twitter at informed_news. I'm on Parler at justinformedtalk. And if you want to help support this channel in the face of what's happened to this channel, my channel, since I was kicked off YouTube, I was basically kneecapped financially, taken off Patreon. They've tried to put me out of business. They've tried to make it impossible for us to report. So they've not only silenced my voice and other voices, They've tried to put us out of business, so we can't financially afford to do this. So this is their plan on how they can get this fraud over the American people, because they knew they had to silence us before they pulled off this fraud. That's why they kicked us off the platforms. That's why they removed us from YouTube. That's why they tried to silence us and bankrupt us financially. It's because they're trying to keep this information away from you, but we will not stop. I will not stop. And I'll leave a link to this GoFundMe if you want to go down and support the channel by making a donation. It makes a huge difference. So thank you. Now, before we go, we do our segment, God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace. And today we're going to talk about a living hope out of the book of 1 Peter. And I want to read these words to you, chapter 1, verse 3 through 9, because we have to have hope. This is the time where we need hope, and even hope as we go through trials and affliction. So listen to this verse, and then we'll talk about it briefly. It says, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. According to his great mercy, he has given us a new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, and into an inheritance that is imperishable, uncorrupted, and unfading, kept in heaven for you, who are being protected by God's power through faith for a salvation that is ready to be revealed in the last time. You rejoice in this, though now for a short time you have had to be distressed by various trials, so that the genuineness of your faith, more valuable than gold, which perishes though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor at the revelation of Jesus Christ. You love him, though you have not seen him, and though not seeing him now, you believe in him and rejoice with inexpressible and glorious joy, because you are receiving the goal of your faith, the salvation of your souls." Those are powerful words, and I'm sharing them with you because that's our living hope. Our living hope is in Jesus Christ, right? And my favorite line in all of this, right? You rejoice in this, though now for a short time you have had to be distressed by various trials, so that the genuineness of your faith, more valuable than gold, which perishes though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor at the revelation of Jesus Christ. So remember that. Remember that we're going through the trial right now. This is where God looks at us and says, and sees our love of him. This is where, our genuineness in faith is extracted from. This is what builds us. This is what gives us endurance. This is how we find hope, right? Is by going through trials and keeping our faith in the face of the adversity that's at hand. So that's my message to you. That's the powerful message that Jesus brings in the love and power of the eternal salvation that we've been given through the sacrifice made on the cross. Share that with your family, your friends, your loved ones, and get that word out there, because it is the most important part of all of this. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. I want to say thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed, and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.